Good morning, my name is Esosa from Absolute Glamour Organics, and this is the first lesson of our course, and we are going to be talking about making a lotion. Now, everything I'm going to be teaching you is going to be from scratch, so before we go into making a lotion, what is a lotion? A lotion is a thick paste that is applied to the body for medicinal or cosmetic purposes. Now, a lotion is just a combination of water and oil binded with an emulsifier. Okay, so in practical, I have here my oil and I have here my water. So making a lotion is actually putting this into this. That's what forms a lotion. But we all know that when you put oil inside of water, the oil sits on top of the water, which means they're not going to bind together, which means we cannot form a lotion. So we need the help of an emulsifier. Now, an emulsifier is a binding agent that will help us bind the water and the oil together. Not just binding them together, making sure that they stay together and not divorce each other. Okay, so now that we know what a lotion is, there are different kinds of lotion. There is a hydrating lotion, moisturizing lotion, or a brightening lotion. There are different kinds of lotion. So before we get into the different types of lotion, we are going to make a lotion. So we're going to be making a basic hydrating lotion for a start. And for that, we'll need ingredients and we'll need some tools. Okay, let's go to the ingredients. Okay, so the e-wax is a cosmetic emulsifying ingredient found in lotions, creams, and hair conditioners. Like I said, it is what's going to bind your water and your oil together. Now, for this lotion, we're going to be using olive oil. Olive oil is a liquid fat obtained from whole olive fruits, like it's pressed and the oil comes out. So the reason why we're using this lotion is because it provides hydration, reduces inflammations, and helps soothe dry and irritated skin. Now, glycerin is a humectant, which is a substance that allows your skin to retain moisture. That is why it's needed in a hydrating lotion. Now, preservative. This will increase the shelf life of your skincare products because if you do not preserve your lotion, it's going to have a shelf life of 5 to 6 days and you start seeing bacteria inside. That's why you need a very good preservative. Okay, so these are the basic ingredients that we'll need. There is varieties, like I said before, varieties of ingredients that you can add. You can add a fragrance or essential oil, just the way you like it. But since this is just a hydrating lotion, we don't need all sort of that. So, okay, but subsequently, when I teach you how to make brightening, glowing, and all the rest, we're going to use more ingredients to make them. So now that we know the 4 main ingredients that are going into this lotion, let us get the formula for making a lotion. Now, you can't just mix these things together and think you're going to form a lotion that is actually going to hydrate your skin. No, we need a formula to be able to put these products together to make it perfect for the skin. Okay, it is not very easy to write in this, but I'm going to try my best because we're going to be doing some writing. Okay, the first thing you need to know is that we're going to divide this ingredients into 3 phases. We have phase A, which we'll call water phase, and phase B, which we'll call the oil phase, and phase C, which we'll call the cool down phase. Let's just say cool phase. So in the water phase, we're going to have the liquids, which means we'll have our distilled water. And here we're going to have the oils, which means we're going to have our olive oil. And of course our e-wax. And here our glycerin is going to fall under water because it is soluble in water. If you put it here, it's not going to mix. So we add it here. Glycerin. And in the cool down phase, we're going to have our preservative. Okay. So the reason why these are in 3 segments is because we're going to mix this to this and then add this. So we're going to be heating up the water phase and the oil phase, but the preservative, we're not going to be heating up the preservative. Once your lotion has formed and it has gotten to the right temperature, we're going to add the preservative, which is the last step. So now how do we make 200 grams of lotion? Now 200 grams is a small batch, so I just want us to start with a small batch. So once you know how to manipulate a small batch, you'll be able to manipulate 1,000 grams, 5,000, 10,000, whichever one that you want. So we are going to be turning this into percentages. So the first thing we're going to do is that we know for a fact that lotion contains up to 60 to 70% of water. So we're going to write phase A as 70% and phase B as 30%. Now this percentage has to go round up to 100. So now that we have 70 plus 30, which equals to 100, what about our cool down phase? Our cool down phase also has to, sum up to 100. So we're going to subtract 1% from here and 1% from here. Now, this is not a rule. You can subtract 2% from here, or you can subtract 2% from here, so long as it sums up to 100. And you will get to know why the cool down phase has to be the less amount. Okay, so let's just say we subtract 1% here and 1% here. We're going to be left with 69%, 29%, and then we're going to have 2% cool down phase. Okay, so now in the phase A, we have distilled water, and we have glycerin, and here we have our olive oil and our e-wax. So how do we get 69% into this? Like I said, you can add anything, literally extracts, any kind of maybe rose water, so long as it's in liquid form, you can add it to the water phase. But for this lotion, we're going to be using just these two. So this is my preference, so I'm going to make this 60% and this 9% because I want my lotion to be a little watery. The glycerin is just there to help, act as a humectant to, hydrate the skin, lock in moisture and all that. So I need more of the water and less of the glycerin. It's not a hard and fast rule. You can decide to use more percentages, let's say 50% of this and then 19% of this, whatever it is that you feel like using. But this is my formula for this particular 200 grams of lotion that we're making. So going straight to the second part, I'm going to be using 20% of olive oil, 20%, and of course 9% of the e-wax. So this is going to make the lotion, don't worry, you'll see how it comes out at the end. Now, this is not a fast or hard and fast rule as well. Like I said, you can decide to use 18% olive and then use 11% of e-wax, just switching things, and it will give you a different outcome, of course, but it's still going to be within the range of good. So the phase C is going to be having 2%. So we already know that this is just 2% of preservative. So in case you're adding any other thing into your cool down phase, like fragrance or essential oil or vitamin E, you're going to make sure that you share the 2% maybe into 0.5% or less than 0.5%. Okay, so now that we have the percentages, how do we turn this into a recipe? Because we cannot work with percentages.